in the rodents that are the standard lab animals, love usually starts with sex. I'm not entirely convinced that is how it works among humans, which might or might not be a good thing, but might explain quite a lot of other weird things going on in the bedroom.
Is there something special about sex which makes it different from all other acts? And I wanted to come to Anders first because you took us through this history of reproduction, but we're also looking to the future and increasingly sex, being in a way sort of divorced or divorceable from the act of reproduction. So how do you see that? Is it still must be a special act?
I don't know if it has to be a special act, but I think it often is. I think this story about evolution having laid down a lot of machinery for various reasons, and then it's been very hard for us to necessarily ignore that machinery. So I've written a whole bunch of paper about the biomedical enhancement of love, and this has mostly been about the romantic part of love. And generally, what is happening is that in the rodents that are the standard lab animals, love usually starts with sex. First, they find each other to be kind of attractive and compatible, then they have sex, and then the biochemical changes happen in the brain to bind them together with oxytocin, etc. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that is how it works among humans. I noticed that quite a lot of humans first fall in love and then have sex. But for some people, it goes the other way around. And I think this might be quite variable. And it's really tricky because it's not all genetics. It's probably quite a lot of your expectations. We are able to shape our minds quite a lot. Maybe we can't decide to change our sexual preferences, but we can certainly express them differently. Our ideas about what makes for a good relationship and what one is supposed to do afterwards, they're shaped by culture, etc. And those shapings can be very intense, especially because sex itself is an intense learning experience. It literally releases dopamine and rewires parts of the brain. So I can totally imagine that people get all sorts of interesting hang-ups about stuff that just randomly occur next to the sex act, which might or might not be a good thing, but might explain quite a lot of other weird things going on in the bedroom.
Thank you. And Finn?
I think, well, yeah, like Anders said, sex is a human act. It doesn't have to mean one thing or another. We can choose what it means. And as Anders said, we as a society could choose different meanings, different framings. We could choose different ways of responding to it, different ways of having sexual relationships with each other. So sexual scripts could change, and I think increasingly younger generations are changing or trying to change sexual scripts. There's a lot more discussion openly about what consent is, what consent means. There seems to be much more call from younger generations for more open and honest communication between people about what they like, what they don't like, and what their boundaries are. And I think that certainly is changing, and that's great to see. So I think we can change sexual scripts, but I always say we can change those sexual scripts, but making them sexy is going to take a lot longer because we are still all embedded in a model of power where power is sexy. And so changing sexual scripts to something else and then making them sexy, that's going to take longer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Janne, is there something special about sex that we can never get away from?
Yes, because I mean, in its very essence, it's a consequential act that you can make babies, and but it's also this influence you can have on another human being. But I do think I want to elaborate on this thing with talking about scripts. That the thing is, the script is changing rapidly at this moment because of the internet. It seems to me that particularly young people who haven't tried sex yet are so influenced by the amount of porn that I don't think they come to sex like generations before, when yes, we might have seen maybe a front page of a porn magazine or something, but it was not widely available, and you tried things out with each other. 15-year-olds, you were figuring things out, boys and girls together, which made it, quite safe. I don't think that if it can feel very safe for particularly young girls when they know they, are dealing with boys who have watched porn from the age of 10, of choking, of violence against girls, and probably it's not even safe for the boys either, because they are not allowed to just slowly feel their way with all the insecurity that sex involves at that age, and all the failures that one has to go through to slowly get it right. And I think that is disastrous. I have no issues with everybody voluntarily trying out whatever sex they want, but when choking goes mainstream, and we have, particularly young girls, it's quite funny how few men are getting choked, actually. It's always girls getting choked, so enjoyable. But when it becomes that, young girls die in these acts, and the excuse, of course, is always, well, we were just experimenting. But there's something wrong about something that's basically painful becoming mainstream as a sexual act, to the extent that I hear teenage girls afraid of saying no to engage in it because then their boyfriends will just have another girlfriend. And I don't even blame the young boys, because if that's what they've seen on TV, that is a sexual script in brain if they've seen that on the computer for years. So in that sense, and it's not from a Puritan point of view, but it's more that I do think it's so destructive for us as human beings. I really think the amount of violent porn on the internet is horrendous for what sex means to us. Because, sex is beautiful when it works, when it's two people, or maybe even more. That I have not experimented too much in that, but I'm sure some people will say that that's wonderful. But to me, sex is a communication, and if you've ever really loved someone you had sex with, you know that is sex at a level that you will never have when you have casual sex. Casual sex can be good. It's like playing squash that really works, that's that. But having sex with someone you truly love and communicate well with is another thing. It doesn't need the toys or the technicalities or the choking or whatever, but it's something else. And that is special. I don't think we have anything else in human beings that require that kind of trust and giving yourself to another person in a moment. And somehow in all these apps and hookups and situationships and again the internet, it's gone totally lost, that basic human connection.
Can I move on to the second question? Is related.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below, or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.